We are Tailgate Talk. Welcome into the show. I'm Matt Thomas. With me, we've got Trent Williams, Kyle Schumann. Coming to you a little bit later than normal, a little bit shorter than normal. Work schedules we had to work around. Nobody really wants to talk about Penn State football right now. Only the external factors. So, well, kind of sucks, guys, doesn't it? Here we are again.
Every time, it's the worst feeling when the team has.
I'm sorry. I believe. We believe.
Trent, where's your I believe?
I'm back to believing. See, that's the beauty of I believe. It's like that said. It's like the trust process for the Sixers. It always plays because it's forward looking.
I believe what we saw was a disaster on Saturday.
And everyone knows when you have your second loss, it's like, your season's over. That's the worst feeling of your second loss.
Well, when you're in the Big Ten East, it is. Yeah. I mean, if we had two losses in the ACC or, even the SEC West, like we could figure it out. But in the Big Ten East, that spells disaster. So, Michigan 24, Penn State 15, in case you've been living under a rock. But I don't really know what to say. Like, it's just.
It's expected.
Same old. Same old.
It's sad. It's to the point where a loss, it doesn't even hit me as hard as it used to anymore.
It still hits me hard.
It does, but not like, before I'd be like, I don't want to talk to anyone for days. And now it's just like become so much more commonplace. It's like, well, who cares? Sort of, it's like I said it on the last pod. It's like, I still feel like I'm asking for the impossible.
Oh, I think we saw that we are asking for the impossible.
Let's be honest, guys. Being a Penn State fan, I was talking to our friend Aaron McComas, friend of the pod. Being a Penn State football fan is being an abusive relationship. They're the abuser, they're the aggressor. So they're the evil person. But it's part on me because I stick around with them and I don't leave. And I just get hurt every time.
It is literally purgatory. It is purgatory.
I know. Here's the thing, though.
The thing is, I have my sad emo Penn State lost playlist now for the late 90, early 2000 rock alternative emo music. So I have my playlist now. Trent, instead of your sad country playlist, but we'll get to the same place.
Thing is, it's the same place most fan bases are every year. It's the truth of the sport is very few fan bases get to experience joy. And we're not
my only counter to that is I feel like any other team, not people that are like the top 7 right now in the playoff rankings, because like the Texas, Alabama's, Michigan, Ohio State, any other team would kill for a 10-2 season, New Year's Six Bowl finish. I'm not trying to sound like I'm like ungrateful or anything like that, but like we should be better. I want us to be in that next tier, and we're just not. It's accepting that reality. We're not in that tier.
I think the problem is it goes to what Trent said, that it feels like we're asking for the impossible. I think it is a completely reasonable expectation that for Penn State, it's winning 9 games a year, 10 games a year. And then every couple of years, you're getting that, 11-1 season, potentially 12-0 season, contending for a Big Ten title. I think that's completely reasonable. I'm not saying that Penn State needs to be a perennial playoff contender, like championship contender, but I think that's reasonable. But we can't do that. Like we can't get over that hump. That is,
you
Michigan
just said
and Ohio State.
being 9-10 win team, Matt. Our Vegas win total this year was 9.5. Probably going to hit that. We better hit it. So we're going to go over a win total, and then people are going to be like, oh, like Penn State fans are being too harsh on themselves.
It has nothing to do with the win total. It has to do with the predictability
and how we got there.
I mean, every single one of us, if you're putting hardcore dollars on this, right? You walk through the schedule at the beginning of the year, 90% of the fans, 99% of the fans are going to say, win, 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 up, lost to Ohio State, win, 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 lost Michigan 10-2. And it's so predictable. It's exactly how it hopefully plays out. I don't know. But it's like you don't even got to watch the season. You could just look at the schedule and say, here's how it's going to play out. And it plays out.
you don't have to watch the games because it's the repeat of the same games over and over and over again. Michigan was a replay of Ohio State. Yeah, maybe we ran the ball more than we threw the ball against Ohio State, but like it's the same thing. Like I don't know about you guys, but pretty much from the moment that 66-yard drive stalled and at the 3-yard line you had to kick a field goal, it was kind of like, this ain't gonna be our day.
No,
This ain't gonna be our day.
You don't win games like that.
No. When we
in
stalled,
that fashion.
When we stalled, but then our team was playing okay the rest of that half. I'm like, okay, you know, we got one more half of football to play. And then when Drew had that fumble, that's when I was like, all right, now it's over. That was it. That was a nail in the coffin.
You knew.
No, you don't win big games making mistakes. And we make mistake after mistake in all these big games. Ohio State, it was dumb penalties, turnovers,
it was a scoop and score that I called back. That was our big play, and we
dumb penalty.
Yeah. Oh, well, I'm so frustrated. I am so frustrated.
I think too, like, now don't get me wrong. I completely understand that James Franklin is a victim of his own success here, right? Like but I feel like he's obviously built a top 15, top 10 program.
Yeah. I mean,
but
James,
the problem is I think we just try to we're just going to roll it out every week, pretty much the same way. And that's how we're going to play the game.
Yeah.
There is like, there's something to that, right? Like there's something to process and like, you know, you're going to approach things the same way, think about things the same way. You're not going to, you know, make a game out to be bigger than it is, but it is in a certain way. Like you can't beat Michigan the same way you beat Maryland. And I think that's the problem.
Truthfully, I thought Saturday, like, I don't think it was an issue of talent. I thought that first half, we match up. But same with Ohio State. We have good players. They have good players. The issue is making those mistakes. Michigan didn't make a mistake. Ohio State didn't make a mistake. Part of it's coaching. And
but again, that's the thing. You can line it up against Indiana and make mistakes, and eventually your talent's going to win out. You can't do that against Ohio State. You can't do that against Michigan. You have to do something to try to go win the game. That's not a wide receiver pass or something like that. But you know, like it's frustrating.
Yeah. It's frustrating because, like you said, Matt, the season is predictable. The play calling is predictable. The results game after game are predictable. It's like
the answers after the game of what happened are predictable.
The press conference is predictable.
Matt could have walked in that press conference.
You're gonna hear
gave the same exact speech that James Franklin would give.
You didn't have you didn't have to watch it. Yeah, just watch the Ohio State press conference and watch the Michigan. It's the same. It's the same answers, and I get it. But and like you said, I mean, part of it is, you know, there was a time when James Franklin took over this role. We dreamed of just being relevant, right? And to us, that was just the first time we were ranked was like we won the national championship. Like we have a number next to our name. You know how big that was? And we would have killed to get to where we're at. But now we're here. And just like our offense, it's just we're flatlined. Like we're just stalled. There's nothing
year after year. And I feel like the past 2 seasons at least, it's
what worries me the most.
Nothing.
Here's what worries me the most. And this was sort of the only thing that sort of kept you hopeful in the past was, all right, we just got to, you know, our recruiting is there, can keep on the recruiting, and we can close that gap. We can get there. But eventually, like, the recruiting stick ends. There is no one, who cares? We could sign 25 stars. If we can't develop them to play on the field, it doesn't matter. 2, the pipeline's going to end. How many big recruits, you know, they're coming to these big games. Your big recruits come to these big games. Who stands on that sideline and says, like, I want to play for this team? I'm a top receiver. I want to go play for this team.
Really
I'm a top running back. This is the offense I want to play in.
Right now, the biggest pitch Franklin and the coaching staff can make is, hey, since I've been here, if the playoff would have been 12 teams since inception, we would have made it, you know, at least 4, 5, 6 times.
Kyle,
But
that works for your top 3-star recruits and your 4-star.
Not 5-star. I know.
No.
It's and that's the gap we're still missing. And the thing is, before, like, you could pitch to a big 5-star recruit and saying, "Listen, look what we're doing. Look at our 5 stars on our roster. Look at Ohio State's 5 stars. You're the difference, right? We can be them with guys like you." That argument's just going away each year because we're getting these recruits. Drew was that guy. Nick Singleton was that guy.
If I'm a recruit, if I'm a big recruit, why am I going to Penn State? I'm obviously not getting developed like I am at Michigan, Ohio State, Alabama, Georgia.
Agree. And that's why it's concerning me.
It's frustrating.
Before there was still ways to spin it. And hey, I'll give it to Franklin. I mean, we just landed a quarterback, right? 2 days after firing our offensive coordinator. I don't care. It's not a 5-star. It's not lighting the world on fire. But it's like,
I don't think it's a 4-star either.
It doesn't matter. What I'm saying is, you still landed a quarterback recruit when he doesn't even know who he's going to be playing for. It's the most Franklin thing ever. But it's
that might be a good transition if we want to talk about that big issue that transpired after the game.
Yeah, I'm actually, from a perspective of walking out of that stadium, having no idea what I was going to talk about for the next 10 months. That was a nice little kind of gift that was put in my lap on Sunday afternoon. But Franklin fires Mike Yursich, offensive coordinator. First time he's fired an assistant middle of the season. Depending on who you listen to and where you get your news, I think everybody kind of knew it was coming. I think depending on who you've listened to, coming at some point this year. That's what I'm saying. Who you listen to depending on when it was coming.
I personally, as a fan, was shocked to see it Sunday.
Oh, so was I.
I was shocked.
Yeah, I didn't like, some people had mentioned that to me. I wasn't complaining. No, that's not happening.
I agree. I was shocked. I wasn't complaining.
Well, I have mixed thoughts on it, but
let's hear it.
Like I mean,
when we talk about predictability, I'll tell you what Matt's going to say. It's not a coordinator problem. It's a Franklin problem. The next coordinator is just going to come in and do the same thing because Franklin runs the system, and that coordinator is going to have to run the same system that Franklin. There's the predictability to it.
I mean, that's true, because what else do we have? Like we have 10 years. We have 10 years of evidence. And now, granted, Franklin last night, he's asked about it on Wednesday night, and he said, "I want a head coach of the offense. I want a head coach of the defense." Like, all that stuff sounds good, but in reality, like, we don't know. And I've just been trying to, it's almost kind of, we've gotten a little bit of pieces though, like the comment he made about where it basically made it seem like Yursich was going rogue, or like, oh, we have these conversations that we, how we want to do things, and then it's not getting executed on game day,
but that's on weird. But then if it's not going according to script, that's where he's stepping as a head coach.
Well, he was asked that, and he said that, because somebody basically asked him, you said you needed to get Drew in rhythm. Like, did you say that? And he was like, those conversations were had. So Yursich is just completely ignoring the head coach. I just find that really, really, really hard to believe.
I know what you're saying, I do. But the mid-season firing sort of makes me think that maybe it's not all that too far from the truth, because most fans, like, at the tailgate afterwards, everyone was saying, like, Yursich needs to be fired today. But it was more just fan talk. It was the type of talk where it's like, well, we know that's not going to happen. I did not expect that next day. And the fact that he did that, I mean, props to him. It had to happen. You cannot be – it's hard to describe how bad our offense was in those two big games.
Horrible.
It was just – we are not that bad on offense. So that's the only thing that I'll say is, like, I understand we've talked about our weaknesses. We've talked about, how bad this receiving core is hurting the rest of the offense. We've talked about it. I get it. It is not to the level that we've seen in these two games. And that is the part that is concerning.
Mm-hmm. If Franklin went to Pat Kraft after the game and was like, I'm mulling it over. I'm considering firing Yurcich. I bet you, like him and Kraft probably were side by side. Like, you know what? Now's the time to do it.
Well,
But
but
maybe,
okay,
like
so
maybe like that transparency or that part of it is at least somewhat
well,
exciting, or
so
not maybe not exciting, but like good to know that they're on the same page. Maybe I don't know.
so here's the thing that I can't.
Pat Kraft was probably like, well, I'll call the plays the next 2 games.
I mean,
Can't be any
honestly,
worse.
can't. Yeah,
Call me. I'll
but
I'll pull up NCAA football 14 and run some of those plays.
but here's the thing that again, trying to sort through this and figure out what's actually going on. When Franklin was asked about it on Monday, like, why did you do this now? And he was basically like, when you know, when you've made the decision, there's no sense in waiting. You got to rip off the Band-Aid. But then I'm pretty sure it was Audrey Snyder that had it. If you've seen the tweet floating around today on Thursday from Becca Kritza, the quarterback commit, basically said that Franklin had hinted that this was going to happen anyway. So if he already knew before the Michigan game, then this whole like, oh, when you know, and it just like it happened after the Michigan game, that timeline doesn't line up either. So it's like it's just this whole thing that like, and I mean, let's be honest, that swinging gate 2-point conversion at the end, Yurcich knew that he was gone. Like that was his last like double middle finger. Like it just none of it makes sense. We're never gonna find out the full picture, obviously, but it just I don't know. It goes.
We can't get it. It can't get any
we will
worse,
never,
right? It
we will
can't get
never
any worse.
know, and that's what we'll as fans. Well, that's the thing, Kyle. I don't see how anyone could be upset about his fire. Like you cannot.
No, I'm not upset. I'm just saying
No,
it
there
can't
are
get
fans.
worse.
What I'm saying is there are fans out there that think like this was the problem. And I get Matt's argument. I get the argument. We'd all agree on the argument that it's not going to matter because the next coordinator is just going to fall victim to Franklin. That's the argument. I get it. But my only counter is, well, I'd rather try it again and find out because Franklin's not going anywhere this year.
Going back
he's
to the abusive relationship.
He's not
back
going
to the
anywhere
abusive
next
relationship. You're going back. Like, you know what? This time will be different. You get otherwise, what you can do as a
but-
fan, you got to believe.
But there's no other option because Franklin is not going anywhere this year. There's 1,000%. Franklin's not going anywhere this year or next year, unless he goes like 0-12 next year. He's not going anywhere.
The
So
buyout's way too big.
Buyout aside,
I don't. Yeah,
he's too good of a coach to fire over all. I mean, keep in mind, guys, we lost to
the number one. Yeah,
the 2 of the top 3 teams in the country by less than 2 scores. I mean, we do have to keep some level of, our passion aside a little bit. Franklin's not going anywhere, so Yurcich had to go. And
yeah,
I'm not saying the next guy is going to be any better. He may fall victim to Franklin, but you know what? Yurcich already had, so we know Yurcich is not the answer. And that's where it's like, I don't see what, like you said, Kyle, can't get much worse. So I have a hard time believing in this next offense coordinator, whoever it is coming in, is going to be worse.
Since Franklin's been here, he's had what? 2 successful OCs. I mean, he's fired. He's fired what? He's fired what? 5, 6?
It's a broad definition though. Was Ricky Ronick's success? I don't know. Got a head coaching job.
I remember a lot of fans being like, "Oh, thank God he's gone," kind of thing. After,
true.
like, and to be completely honest with you, like, I'm not sure that Penn State fans look back on Jomo the same way if they don't win the Big Ten in 2016. Like, I don't know if you do. Like, I think everyone just kind of looks at that. Like,
offense is always going to get more scrutiny because you want to score points, right? If your offense, you could have Jomo lighting it up on offense. If the offense goes 3 and out 2 times in a row, 2 possessions in a row, and then like has a turnover, the 3rd possession, it's going to be like, this offense is a disgrace. And it's like, it's not. It's just the nature of being a fan.
For
wanting to score.
Defense is the opposite. I feel like when you go through defensive coordinators, our defense is always solid. There are years where we're 1 year better than next year, but I feel like we have a solid defense.
Hence the theory that I'm working off of, Coco. Like,
what's his theory?
No, it's what we said. Like that the offensive coordinator is going to fall victim to Franklin. Like, you've got my whole thing is you look at the positions that have not really developed, I think, the way that Penn State fans would like on the offensive side, specifically. You've got quarterback, you've got wide receivers now, obviously front and center, and you've got like largely offensive as a whole offensive coordinator. Like those are the positions that Franklin coached coming up. Like, again, I don't know. I'm not saying that is or that isn't. I'm just saying we have 10 years of this kind of like data set, and it's like these games in general. We need to actually see something different before I'm going to say like, okay, something different's going to happen.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm going to expect the same.
I know what you're saying there. I truly believe Franklin is way too busy of a man as a head coach to be at the level of impacting development at all those different position levels.
You'd think, but like it's an overall philosophy. It's leading the direction. Like you'd think, but at this point, like what else are you supposed to believe? I don't know. Like we've seen it, the same story on repeat for 10 years. We've had the same season on repeat for
Franklin's we've had a ton of stud receivers come out of Franklin. We've had
we've had like one at a time. We've never had a room where it's like,
okay, it's not fair to say we haven't had no receiver development.
I said not the way. Well, that's a good point too, Coco. I'm saying not the way people.
We've had what? Off the top of your head, what? 3?
That 20. I know. We go back to that team.
Godwin, Hamilton, and KJ Hamler.
Jahan.
Jahan. Sorry, Jahan Dodson. My bad. He's pairing up for the football team or commander, whatever the hell their name is. They go through changes like we go through
college.
Off the 4 years.
Saeed Blacknall's better than any receiver on the current team. Like, I mean, Saeed Blacknall.
That's a very.
I know, but he's
Juwan Johnson is too.
Single-handedly won the Big Ten championship. I feel like Saeed Blacknall. Like we've had good receivers, so it's not fair to say like. I think we're just brushing that aside a little too easy. And we've had success at these positions.
Do we dare count the Ohio State wide receivers that they have?
Say, I mean, not to go back into this argument, but Clifford was a much better quarterback than anyone gave him credit for, and it's more obvious now than ever that so many people were wrong on him last year. Every single that dude deserves an apology from 90% of the fan base. Because I'd kill for Sean Clifford this year. I would. That leadership is part of what this team is missing. Granted, he was 35 doing it, but it's a big part of what this team is missing.
He may start for the Packers soon here.
Because I think we've seen everyone criticize, it's all about arm talent, Drew's arm talent versus Sean's. That Drew's arm talent has done us nothing this year. And it's a sad truth. And it may be because they haven't utilized it. I'm not saying it's Drew. It's there's so many issues beyond Drew. There really is. But it just goes to show you that, arm talent's just a small factor of what it takes to be a winning quarterback.
Yeah. But so speaking of that, try to wrap it up a little bit here. We've got last year after team takes its second loss, like those players just kicked into overdrive, and it was a month of just dominant wins. I'd be curious to see what happens Saturday against Rutgers. I mean, it's been a hard week, I think, for everybody, like inside or outside. Rutgers is no slouch. Like this isn't your average. This isn't your mama's Rutgers team. Especially new offensive coordinators, Ty Howell and Jujuan Snyder calling the plays.
Rutgers is always going to get up for this game because they're the armpit of the Big Ten, and they're going to get up for this game. They've
got a good defense. They've got a top 10 passing defense in the country.
Well, good. That doesn't impact us at all.
No, we can't run the ball either. So it's going to be an interesting game. Like, do we want to just do quick predictions? We're trying to keep this short because it's already Thursday, but like.
With this game, Penn State's fair by 20, over under 41.5.
And does anyone really care? Sadly, no.
None of us are tailgating. We're all showing up, pulling in like 11 o'clock. Well, Matt's getting a little Matt, are you press box this week?
No, I'm not press box this week. I'm getting there as late as I can as well because I ain't dealing with that. I couldn't even sell my other parking pass for this game. How about that? But
that's bad.
Yeah. I think ultimately they get the cover, like maybe something like 31-10, like 35-14, something like that. But
So that's that's over in Penn State covering.
probably, I don't even know what the over.
You don't care anymore. I don't care either.
I mean, I'm looking at our site right now, and like I don't know if we've written about Rutgers once. Like it's just been that week, and I'll tell you what. After the game,
Well,
no one's gonna be writing about Rutgers either. Like it's
it's
one of those games.
the other piece of it is like, granted, next year if this was a 12-team playoff format, this game this weekend
It's a
would
huge
be
game.
huge.
Massive.
It would be massive. It's just the nature of once you lose that game, when we have pretty much playoff expectations. I mean, I don't want to. Expectations might be a little tough, but we had hopes of a chance at the playoff, and it just felt like it was never there. So just once it's over, the whole season's destroyed.
I know
Feels that way.
Rutgers offense isn't that great, but I just feel like with these constant, no, obviously last week was Michigan, but like these constant like 40 to like 45 point totals, it just shows that like Vegas doesn't trust our offense. No one trusts our offense.
Yeah.
It's
I blame them. I don't blame them.
I think it goes over, and I think we cover, and it's not because of talent. That's part of it, all that, but it's because there's not a Michigan or Ohio State logo on these guys' helmets. Take this Rutgers team and throw the Michigan helmets on them, and I don't think we beat them, because I think it's just that much of a mental block that we can't beat any team named Ohio State or Rutgers. Ohio State or Michigan. I feel like we'll get up to play this game. We'll play well and we'll look good, and it'll help. It'll feel a little better coming back off a win. It will, but I think it's more mental than anything at this point, honestly.
We'll move on here.
Tampa, here we come.
We're believing, right? Believing for the Rutgers game.
Tampa, here we come. Do you have
so
any other?
I
Do you
said
have any other games?
two other games here in one stat line. Penn State's next opponent, Michigan State at Indiana. Indiana's favored by 3.5.
Indiana
for Matt.
Indiana.
Trent?
I like Indiana here too.
Another clean sweep. And probably the best game of the day is other than our game, because our game's going to be phenomenal, right? But it's going to be Washington, Oregon State.
Scientists are updating COVID-19 vaccines for the following season.
Make sure to get your COVID-19 vaccine, Coco.
That's Travis Kelce. What was it? What was it?
The over 62.5. Washington, Oregon State.
Hey, I guess we got a sponsor. First BK.
Now to the Pfizer? Who's there?
Kyle, I'm gonna ride with you this game.
Whatever I pick.
Whatever you take.
I'm gonna make it a surprise and type on the sheet.
I'll
take over. I'll take over because Washington can't stop anything. So
what's the over? What's the over again? Sorry.
62.5.
I'm gonna go under, because Washington has been struggle busting to score these last, really the last month. So there you go. There you go under. Corvallis.
The Beavs. Coco Sports Line here. Drew Aller over under 200 passing yards.
Under.
Yeah, probably under.
Another clean sweep. That's bad if you can't get over 200 passing yards against Rutgers.
They're only giving up 166 a game. So
that's bad. I'm just depressed. I don't even care. But I'll be there.
Depressed is Coco. That's our last call question. Do we see? We'll do one last call question because we're short on time.
Actually, I have one.
Okay, go ahead. What do you got? What do you got? Okay, come on.
I think in this, I heard it from the State of State podcast. I thought it was an interesting topic to bring up. With the age of NIL and all your big players more influencing your program, does Drew Aller have an opinion, or does he get asked about who should be hired as the offensive coordinator? Do they run it by him? Does he have any influence, you think? Is he at that point where he can make an influence? he can be part of the decision, or
No way.
The question has been asked and answered. It's no, but yes. No input, but it's a part of the decision.
Well, yeah, I mean,
But
Franklin is going to look at what his talent package is and, try to adapt the coordinator to that type of play style. But no, there's no way Drew Aller has a seat at the table saying
I don't
yay
think
or
Drew-
nay to coaches.
I don't think Drew is at that level to have influence over the decision. But if Caleb Bloom decided to stay this year and he's like, and he goes to his head coach and be like, I don't like our offensive coordinator, or so it's something like that of his level of caliber of player.
No.
I think he could be asked.
I don't think hiring, where I think they may have a say, is if you get a couple big guys like Singleton and Drew and a couple of these guys to bound together and be like, go to Franklin and say, hey, this guy's our coordinator. We're bouncing next year. We're in the portal. See ya. That I can see happening, but I don't think, a hiring decision. I can see them forcing someone out a lot easier just by the mere threat of saying, hey, this guy's our coach.
I agree with you. I thought it was interesting because it's the new age of players having more say over certain matters, and that was an interesting topic.
Yes.
Do we see the T this week, or is that out the door with your switch?
I know. I mean, we'll probably see. This is the week we'll break it all out. We'll be seeing so much creativity. We won't know what to do with it.
The bow package, all the stuff.
Yeah, I mean, we'll probably see Singleton make a couple throws this week, and maybe Daquan Hardy can be put at receiver. You'll see all types of craziness this week. It'll be the week that we pull it up, break out all the stops.
Why not?
Wouldn't
Ain't
dare to
nothing
do
to
it
lose.
against a team we can't beat. Who would want to try to get creative against those teams?
Got nothing to lose.
I was in a much better mood before this podcast, and it's just like, I'm angry again.
We believe.
Group therapy session. This
believe.
in our group chat is our therapy.
See, I forgot all about all this nonsense because I do not listen to any sports podcast, radio, nothing after we lose. I just wipe it from my memory, and we had to do this.
This isn't a sports podcast. This is a lifestyle podcast.
We should.
I already told Trent's
better.
uncle next year, when say we have like one loss going to Ohio State based off our schedule, or if you're undefeated going to play Ohio State next year, I'm saying I don't care what my optimism says. I will not pick Penn State in that game. I don't care how well we're playing. I'm not picking Penn State.
Yeah, it'll be a big noon kickoff, 12 o'clock, and crowd will suck because who cares about a noon game?
Sad vibes.
We'll see. We are sad. So, all right. Well, if you've made it this far, you're probably a sick, twisted masochist. But we thank you anyway. Like, subscribe if you haven't already. We'll be back to talk about Rutgers.
This is the saddest outro. This is sad.
Tailgate Talk out. We are Tailgate Talk.